All right guys, today we've got a cool video planned for you. We are driving and comparing the 2014 Subaru BRZ, the first gen BRZ, to my 2022 second gen BRZ. They're both World Rally Blue. I'm here with my buddy Mark.
How's it going, guys?
Yep, I actually was probably a pretty big influence on you buying this 2014 BRZ.
Yeah.
And I have a little bit of a history with the car too.
Yeah, you do, yeah.
So yeah, Mark is this is your first sports car.
First sports car, first manual.
Hey, that's
Yeah.
right. You bought it before you learned how to drive stick, which is the way to do it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I learned how to drive. It was a fun 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Fun 2 weeks.
But you've probably gotten pretty good by now. You've been watching lots of rev match downshifting videos and tutorials. And
Yeah, I'm excited. A lot of your videos, a lot of Ted Word. Yeah, just trying to figure out how to do this thing, but I don't know if I'll ever go back. Too bad manuals are kind of going away.
That's right.
So
yeah. Well, today you'll get a chance to drive my 2022 BRZ. You can compare. I'd like to get some of your thoughts.
Yeah.
But this is actually the first time I've had these two cars together in a video. And we've always talked about the differences between these cars in my 2022 BRZ videos, but I wanted to actually show you guys in person some of these differences. And just, of course, there's the obvious design and power differences. So the 2014 BRZ, 200 horsepower, it's a 2-liter boxer 4-cylinder. 2022, 2.4-liter boxer 4-cylinder, 228 horsepower. They pretty much got rid of the infamous torque dip with the new cars. They changed the body styling a little bit, widened the rear end, increased rear suspension travel. You can see some of those differences visually, but at the core, underneath, these cars are still the same platform, a lot of the same mounting points, a lot of the same mods transfer over. Exhaust systems are very similar, suspension is very similar. I actually have a tow hitch from a first-gen BRZ, so it's designed to fit on that car that was modified to fit on this. They're all very similar, just a few tweaks over the years. Almost every year of the first-gen BRZ, Subaru and Toyota changed suspension, spring rates, sway bar thicknesses. They were always kind of tweaking these cars, and the same thing goes for the new vehicles. But let's start off just looking at the interior of this 2014. I mostly want this video to focus on this first-gen BRZ because it's been a while since we've driven one of these. Still, back to basics, simple, lots of physical controls in this interior. And that philosophy is carried through with the new BRZ too. Very similar seats, just slightly wider bolstering on the new BRZs. Tons of room in here for passengers and storage. And that brings me to my first major comparison with this car is I've just forgotten how much bigger the trunk was on the first gen BRZ. The trunk opening.
It's huge. It's fantastic.
The trunk size itself is the same, but the opening is so much bigger. So, all right, let's do some like scientific measurements here. So, here's the top, okay? Height, a little bit more than a fist. All right, so like this. My wife always gives me the hardest time when I do this. There's like another 4 inches of opening on the first gen. And then look at this. It's about another inch of height on the first gen compared to this. Down here is narrower on my BRZ. This is a great space. Of course, that factors into the design. They changed the taillights, they stiffened things up. There's maybe some structural reasons why they shrunk the opening in the second gen, but I mean, the spare tire still fits in here. The exhaust is the same. The space inside the trunk is the same, but it's just hard to get stuff in. So I used to regularly put my mountain bike in the back of my 2014 BRZ back in the day, fold the rear seats down, take off the front tire. It went in easily. That's not going to happen with my car.
Yeah, fit some golf clubs. I forgot to tell you, I actually put a snowboard back in here. It fits a 155 millimeter snowboard.
You can fit skis. All sorts of stuff.
Yeah, when you put that seat down, you essentially have an SUV. It's fantastic.
I have a 9-foot photo background that I use for photo shoots occasionally.
Yeah.
I put it in, and it goes in the footwell up front, and it extends all the way out, and it just barely closes the trunk. It's perfect. So yeah, these cars are really usable. They're very practical. If you just need one car to do it all, which is what this kind of does for you.
Exactly.
It's the best do-it-all sports car. And
1000%.
these have really held their value too. What'd you pay for this?
18.
And how many miles?
661.
Okay, so this is pretty low mileage for this year, and it's in pretty good shape. I sold mine in 2020 for 16 grand.
Yeah.
They've gone up a little bit since then. I had similar mileage on mine when I sold it. So, if you want to save 10 grand over the new car, you can do that, or you can go buy a new one. For this car out the door was about $30,000 with taxes and everything, but still $28,000 MSRP. they're very affordable vehicles for how much fun they provide.
So much fun.
Yeah, so maybe let's pop the hood real quick and see what the engine bays look like. They're basically gonna look identical. You'll notice at the rear, moved the license plate location, lowered that.
It's funny, yours is off-roading capable and mine's sturdier.
That's right. I will say this engine bay is very, very well sealed to debris and mud and water. I was doing a rallycross last year, and there were like 6 to 8 inches of standing water puddles.
Oh,
we were like skimming over the tops of them, just huge splashes, and the engine wasn't even wet in here. It was amazing. So Subaru did a pretty good job sealing everything up. You can see we have a slightly different oil cooler / oil filter set up here, and there is no sound tube in the 2nd gen BRZ. But if we go over here, we basically see the same intake design, oil filters in the same spot. Everything looks about the same. Okay, maybe the engine is a little bit taller. The intake runners are a little bit different. Yeah, it's about the same.
It's about the same.
Yeah.
Yours is a little bit bigger. That's about it.
Yeah. 2.4 liters instead of 2 liters. Very accessible, very easy to work on. I actually have a header from a 1st gen BRZ on my car. So just a quick rundown of modifications. This is a 4.3 diff, a catted unequal length header from FT86 Speedfactory, an axle back exhaust, and a 1.5 inch lift kit from Anderson Design Fabrication, stock wheels and Michelin PS4S tires. The 2014 BRZ is completely bone stock. Yeah. Completely stock.
Other
so
than tires.
we've got a nice starting point for Mark here. All right, let's go for a drive. You're gonna drive mine. I'm gonna drive yours. We'll come back and we'll give some thoughts on the comparison. I haven't driven this since I was teaching you how to drive stick.
Exactly.
Or perfecting your method. Yeah. As far as tires go, we have a set of BF Goodrich Advantage Control all-season tires. Not very grippy, but they have good tread on them. Stock sizing 215/45 R17s. I think the tire size is the same on both cars. They're both 215/45 R17s.
Yep.
And the older BRZs had slightly narrower wheels, so 17 by 7 inch rim. The new cars have a 17 by 7.5 inch rim, which gives you a little bit more control, a little bit less sidewall deflection, but ultimately the differences in suspension tuning will be very apparent.
Yeah.
So, cool.
Dig
Follow
it.
me.
All right.
All right.
Sounds fun.
Cool. Familiar place. As many of you know, I did own a 2014 Subaru BRZ for 6 years. I put 60,000 miles on that car. Drove the heck out of it. Really enjoyed it. It was a 4-season sports car for me. Drove in the winter, drove in the summer. Ice raced it. That thing was a blast. Let's go drive this, take a little trip down memory lane, and get reacquainted with a 1st gen BRZ. So, first thing I'm noticing, suspension, quite a bit stiffer, especially at the rear end. The new car is just so much softer. There's not a lot of torque here, not a lot of power. This engine really only wakes up above 4,000, 4,500 or so. Shifter feels about the same. So easy to drive. I have better feedback, better road feel. This 2014 BRZ isn't as isolating as the new car is, and we have just regular turn signals, not the one press BMW style turn signal. about the limit of those tires. Steering wheel is larger on these 2014s. A little bit heavier, a little bit more resistance, returning to center. Slightly more noise on the highway. And of course, the biggest difference, just power. There's no torque. Engine's about almost dead at 3,500 RPM. There's just not a lot going on. These cars are so much fun though. Still very well balanced. Easy to heel toe downshift, responsive engine. I actually prefer the factory throttle mapping on these early first gen BRZs compared to the new BRZ. GR86 is a little bit better with the new cars. Brakes feel good. Aside from just a little bit of a worn clutch, it's the original clutch, 66,000 miles. This car drives awesome. It feels great. No rattles, no shakes. You got some crickets coming from the engine up front. That was a pretty common thing with these cars, but aside from just making a noise and being a little bit annoying sometimes, it's not a big deal. Shifter feels nice and tight. Don't mind the lack of low down torque and you drive this like a momentum car, like a slow car fast experience, it's just great. It's lovely. This has the 410 rear differential, so slightly higher gearing than what my car would have. In my 2014 BRZ, I upgraded to the 430 rear diff, which made a little bit of a difference, about a 5% difference in gear ratios. Same cruise control stock, pretty much the same door handles, pedals. A lot of the locations of everything are similar. We still get a physical handbrake in the new car. They have refined the traction control systems a little bit in the new BRZs. This first gen was a little bit rudimentary. VSC Sport didn't really do a whole lot, but you could turn everything off and still have a lot of fun. And there's also the pedal dance for track driving in this first gen, which will completely disable everything. You won't get any front brake intervention, which is nice. There's a lot that I like about this first gen BRZ. This is a fun car. I like the analog gauges. They're clear, they're easy to read. There's no guesswork as to what speed or RPM you're doing. This makes me miss my 2014 just a little bit. Time will tell with the 2022 plus BRZ and GR86, but these first gen cars were known to be very reliable. My 2014 is still out there with 150,000 miles or so, running strong, getting flogged on. that torque tip between 3,000 and 5,000 RPM. Right in the spot where you want power. All right, well, let's park here briefly at Carl's cabin and debrief, and then we'll go drive my 2022 Subaru BRZ and get some back-to-back thoughts.
Oh my God. That, so I know we were talking about how similar that is to that, but my goodness, that the lack of a torque dip, the punchiness of the clutch,
The power difference is huge.
the power difference is absolutely huge. That
Yeah.
is so noticeable.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
That's the big difference. I think your car is a little bit more raw and
Yeah.
visceral, and I think in some ways it's more fun to drive.
So the steering feels like there's a middleman a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little bit more assisted.
Yes.
It's lighter.
Yeah.
Less feedback.
Exactly.
The wheel is smaller in this, so that makes a bit of a difference.
Yeah. Oh my.
But the power is
Power.
it's a big difference.
Fantastic. There's a big difference in that.
Yep.
The clutch pedal, that I was not expecting it to be as punchy. Mine's a little more flat.
Yours has 60,000 miles of wear.
So
that's it.
newer clutch
Yeah,
pedal.
newer clutch.
Pedal.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So yeah,
Gotcha.
10,000 miles, 60,000 miles. So
Yeah.
I'll trade keys with you. Your car is fun, man. It's so tight. It feels like mine did when it was brand new. It's fine.
Yeah,
They
it
hold
is.
up so well.
It is super. These cars are great.
They're awesome.
Man.
It doesn't get any better.
That
We're proud of
really
you.
makes me want to do the header modification
Sure.
for the 14, because the lack of that torque dip, it's like, wow.
Header and a tune really wake those cars up. But as long as you're kind of revving it out, as long as you're living above $5,000 when you want power,
It's
it's happy.
fantastic.
It's got plenty of
Exactly.
power. Yeah, it feels good. But below that, just no one is home.
No one. Yeah, absolutely no one. You feel it's a Prius.
Yeah. Priuses sometimes are faster. They'll be like pulling away from you in a light until you hit
Exactly.
4,500 or something.
Right. Oh my goodness.
That's great. I'm glad I got your initial reaction.
That
there.
was fantastic. That was fantastic. I love the pops, the burbles on the
That's right.
downshifts.
Yep.
That was. Oh my goodness. That was great.
All right, let's swap.
Gotta show some love back to
Yep.
my car.
Go back to your your baby. I gave your seat like 4 pumps down.
Gotcha.
So 3 pumps up should be about right.
Coolio. Thanks.
All right, so let's compare here. Of course, interiors are different. This feels more modern, but ultimately, everything is kind of located in about the same place. One thing you do get in the 2014 BRZ is a headlight angle adjuster, which is gone in this car, but you can still lower the gauge cluster brightness a ton, which is awesome for night driving. Ergonomics, the layout of this interior is it's perfect. It's great. It's easy, simple, physical controls for everything. CarPlay connectivity is a little bit wonky sometimes, but that's okay. I gotta get used to driving my car again. Recalibrate my brain. I think that's probably one of the few manual cars that Mark has driven. So it's good. We're widening his breadth of experience today. Okay, maybe the shifters don't feel as different as I thought they did. These new cars do engage a little bit easier on cold starts between first and second. There's that torque. Peak power definitely feels better. I mean, this is 220 horsepower. The first gen is 200 horsepower. But it's when you're in that 3,000 to 5,000 RPM rev range that, yeah, this car actually pulls in a linear fashion. Whereas in the 2014, nothing's going on. Nothing's happening. You hear noise, that's it. Throttle response is slightly better in the older car. It's more willing to rev. Feels like the flywheel's a bit lighter. This can be a bit lazier to shift sometimes. I mean, ultimately, it's the same old story. This 2022 BRZ is a more modern, comfortable, slightly less engaging experience, but it's faster. The chassis is tuned better. The suspension is better. The engine is more powerful. They've gone through and really figured out this car's dynamics. Arguably, it's better to drive at the limit. And I would say the 2014 is maybe sometimes more fun to drive on a daily basis because you get some more vibration, you get some more feedback with that car. Second gen BRZs are they're no slouch. A little bit more induction noise and intake noise in the first gen. That sound tube was a very clever way to pipe engine noise into the cabin, and I think it sounded good. It kind of came on cam at a certain point in the rev band, and of course the synthetic sound that was implemented in these BRZs just sounds awful. It's just one of the worst fake sounds I've heard from an engine. So the first thing I disabled in this car. And that's the best thing about both of these cars. You can enjoy them on the street. They're fun on the track. You can drive them in the winter. You can drive them in the snow. Throw a set of winter tires on them. There's room for a spare. There's room for your stuff in the back. You could maybe occasionally fit a passenger back there. They're just fun, affordable, reliable, low maintenance sports cars. They're bigger than, more practical than a Miata. They're engaging, they're exciting, they can kind of do it all, and that's why I love this platform so much. I haven't looked it up at all or done any research on it, but I wonder if anyone's swapping this 2.4 liter into the first gen BRZs. That would kind of be the best of both worlds. All right, so let's sum some things up. Better driver field, better engagement in the first gen car, better engine, better suspension tuning in the second gen car. There's more grip here. There's more chassis refinement. The vehicle has just more adjustability. Brakes about the same, but the torque and the engine and just kind of the performance of this new car really takes it up a notch. But what you sacrifice is driving feel. This is ultimately a bit number of a driving experience. And that first gen BRZ really kind of gives you that old car fizz, that purest sports car driving feel. Everything kind of vibrates and you're in tune with the engine RPM, with your shift points. You have an analog gauge cluster in front of you. You can kind of feel everything going on around you, whereas in this, I feel like there's just kind of a rubber layer between it all. Steering is better in the old car, but you just don't have the power. So pros and cons, really interesting to drive these cars back to back. A lot of my thoughts that I've had over the last couple years comparing these two have just been confirmed. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. This was a lot of fun to film and put together. Mark and I have been meaning to do this for quite a while. And I'm glad we finally made it happen. So anyway, we'll get some of Mark's final thoughts here, and that'll be a wrap.
Subaru and Toyota, best ever. Oh my goodness. So definitely, I was very used to the suspension on this car, much softer on yours.
A lot softer, yeah.
But yeah, just still that torque dip. Still that torque dip. Revving it out, still as fun as ever.
Yeah.
But, when initially off the line, like it takes me a minute I really have to rev out those gears in order to keep up with you.
Yeah.
But it's very reassuring. So I feel like this getting in at 18, you can probably find it anywhere between 16 and 20.
Yep.
For a nice one of these. Probably between a header, camber bolts, like you probably are a tune, you're probably looking at $3-4 grand, and you have 95% of that car.
Exactly.
And it is.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so good.
Yeah. If you want to save $10,000, just buy the first gen, or maybe save a little bit more. I wouldn't be as afraid of miles on these cars as long as they've had regular oil changes and they've been maintained and they haven't been modified too much. I highly recommend a header, an open flash, off-the-shelf tune. Exhaust will just make it louder, won't give you much power. Grippy tires are great, but also tires that don't have a lot of grip are more fun too, because you can slide it around a little bit. And the less grip, the better, sometimes. So it depends what you're looking for. Brakes are the same. All these cars really need at the front end is just a little bit of negative camber, so you can get either one set of bolts or two sets of bolts for upper and lower. And just push that negative camber in just a little bit, get alignment. That'll help a lot with front end grip.
The combination of the camber bolts, but also just the steering that you have, the updated steering that you have, that it definitely handles a little bit better. I feel a lot more in tune with the car, but I could tell like that is a little bit more assistance, a little more cleaner.
Yeah, and these tires are grippier too. But the new cars do handle a little bit better. Like you can feel the differences. It's easier to push harder. It's easier to kind of
feel more confident doing it.
Yeah, there's a lot more balance to the chassis, and you can really kind of just live on the ragged edge in these cars, and it's just so forgiving. And it is with these cars too, but that those limits are just a little bit lower. All things equal. So
two very fantastic cars.
You nailed it with driving impressions. You just said exactly what I said. So
absolutely,
it's great. Cool, guys. Well, this was a lot of fun. I'm glad Mark and I were able to make this happen today. Thanks again for letting me vlog on your car, and hope you had fun in this.
Vlog on yours, man. And thank you
great.
for helping me get this thing, helping me learn how to drive this thing. Oh my goodness, it's been so awesome getting to know this car, getting to know cars in general. Wasn't a car guy beforehand. Manual. Did you see the Corvette, the blue Corvette that pulled next to us?
That's right.
Oh, that was great too.
I know.
Just save the manuals, man. this is such a fun experience.
And it makes you look forward to going somewhere in your car.
Really
Yeah, it enhances every drive.
Exactly.
Yeah. Better quality of life, right?
1,000%. 1,000%.
Cool. Yeah, I think we'll end on that now. I mean, the only other thing I think I forgot to say was the blues, the World Rally blues between these cars. Maybe it's because my car has been ceramic coated and detailed and polished, and this needs a bit of a paint refresh and detail, but they look a little bit different. Like this World Rally blue from the first gen looks a little bit lighter than mine. So we'll see. Once you get your car detailed someday, we'll do a side-by-side comparison. Yeah. But the body lines, I think both cars look great. The design is awesome.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Is yours heavier?
They should be about the same. This is about 2,800.
It didn't feel
Yeah.
too heavy.
It's about the same. Ultimately. Yours is the Limited. Mine is the Premium. So mine's the base model. Yours is like got heated seats and stuff.
Yeah.
But the difference was negligible between the two cars back in the day. Now it's a little bit more, but the shifters feel about the same to me. The gear shifter.
100%. Yeah. And I thought that might be a big thing, and no, shifters were exactly the same. Just noticed that my clutch pedal has 60,000 miles on it.
Sure.
Yeah. That's about it.
I think Subaru tweaked the trans fluid a little bit in the newer cars, and it shifts maybe smoother. They also changed the synchro materials a bit, maybe. And,
Yeah.
But ultimately, the shift feels exactly the same.
Yeah, no problem shifting in a second.
Yeah.
Sometimes especially when it's colder, it's not too bad out here today.
Yeah.
But
I was struggling in a second this morning too. It's just the way it is. You do a 1 to 3 shift. That's the trick.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
But it wasn't any problems. I guess probably because it was already warmed up.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, that's gonna be it for this one. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Take care. Hope you enjoyed this video. This was fun to film.
Yeah, this is tons of fun.
You want to go drive Type R?
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Let's do it.
100%.
All right.
Let's do it.